Okay, folks, good evening. Let's get this all squared away here. Have to readjust everything because we use this device to take over for our filming. Well, the end of the device anyways. So we need to reconfigure it. Let's get the air moving around here. Two should be about fine. Okay. So if I would have had enough time on Sunday, I would have actually been able to post these guys. Hello, Joe. And they are, of course, how can I forget? I want to go this way, so I have to move it the opposite. Yeah, the Polish axemen. So we have one stand of poles done. Woohoo! And I did a little bit of a different basing scheme on them. Let's see, I can show you the difference. Let's get a Moldavian guy out here. Slightly different, not tremendously different. Slightly different. Let's see, that's a blade guy. Let's get the horde out here. Well, the grass color is the same. The grass color is the same, just the bushes are a little different. I don't know why it's so dark in it. That's a little bit better. Maybe there's some settings I can mess with here on this. Let's see if I can mess with the settings. Brightness, no, it's this button. White balance, daylight, exposure level. That looks a little better. I'm forcing some extra brightness on there. They don't look that different. But that's fine. We're going to do them slightly, ever so slightly different. So, the poles. And based on my experience last night, I don't know if I want 2 nights. I don't know if I want a second night. I'm forced to take one of them. I may paint a calf instead. You know, the thing is the calf gets shot to bits just as easily as a knight, so. All right. Well, I wanted to show something here. I'll wait for some more people to show up, if they do. And just like that, another person shows up. Well, I'm going to wait for more people to show up. All right, give me a third one. We'll set this guy off to the side. The first pole done. And we've got the rest of these guys already primed in here. And these are 3 stands of knights. And our candidate, let's See, these two are the same. This is this charging pose. I'm going to paint those guys first. Because first of all, they're falcon figures, which are no longer available. And just like I did the other figures, I'll try to do the same poses at the same time to force me to do a different one. And one of these guys is going to be mostly red, and one of these guys is going to be mostly blue. And I need to go in here and touch some black on them. And then we'll try to look at some pictures and see if we can make a decision on what heraldry we're going to do next. I think I already started a Pinterest for these guys. I don't remember, to be honest with you. The blades came and went so quick. I kind of wasn't expecting that. I tried to get on here as soon as I could, but yeah, I actually missed quite a few spots on here. Must have been in a hurry painting this. Let's just make sure this guy has a thin coat on him. Okay. These are the first two we're going to do. All right. Did I make a Pinterest for these guys? I think I did. Here's Pinterest. It's very awkward to use sometimes. Polish Knights, here we go. Aha. Probably should have done this ahead of time, but I just thought about it, honestly. What am I looking at here? I might actually have to do some research. I have, but there's just so much stuff that, and I haven't done it. Well, one thing that I wanted to talk about is only Joe and the other guy, whoever the other guy is. Welcome. I talked about doing this the other day, and I came across it really easy. I wasn't going to go looking for them. I'm not going to paint, I don't think I'm going to paint these guys anytime soon. But back when I used to do 20s, these are some of my 20mm miniatures. Well, very few of them. But I was talking about if I ever ran that World War II thing again, I would probably have everybody play the Maquis. And these are my Maquis figures. That's, for you laymen, that's French resistance fighters. So let's take a look who's in here. I honestly haven't looked at them, so I kind of waited to kind of do the whole thing. All right, let's see what we got here. We, of course, have some tractors that I picked up. This is before the Ukrainian phenomenon. So, all right, another tractor here. Randy Collins, welcome. Okay, I talked about these troops, and this is what I used to paint. These are based on pennies, and they'll stay on pennies. And these are, most of these are from Battlefield Miniatures, which I believe are out of production now. But I got these things about 20 years ago, maybe a little bit longer ago. And yeah, if I got into painting these, if doing World War II again, I'd run the game and I'd play the bad guys, and everybody could play these resistance fighters, because the rules really are kind of geared towards running only a handful of guys, anyways. All right, and you see where the parameters are of the TV view. So I'm making sure I'm not going to show things that aren't the case. But just to show you, these guys really have some really interesting personalities, these guys. This one, for instance, we'll start with him. This guy has a Sten machine gun. And they have kind of a unique look to them also. Let's see, is that even clear? Now, you know what we need to do? We need to go in and we need to zoom in like this. There we go. Okay. So this guy's got a Sten machine gun. He's got a beret. And they have a unique sculpting style, these in particular. These aren't my favorite figures. These are probably my second favorite figures. My favorite sculptor doesn't make these type guys. But you can see their pants are kind of big. They're kind of big in the legs. And their head's kind of small. I don't know, kind of like Ziggy with a small head. But here's a guy with a beret and a Sten gun. And it looks like It looks like a male. Yeah, because unlike some of the other figures, there are female figures in here, which is pretty cool. Here's another guy with a Sten gun. This guy's bareheaded. And I think they've got armbands where you could give them little armbands for the resistance. It's 2 Sten guns. What do you got this guy? This guy is... looks like he's got some kind of a grenade, and he's got a Thompson. These are all battlefield miniatures. And this is where the phenomenon of me putting them on pennies started. Putting 15s on pennies. Except the 15s, I take them off. These guys, this is their permanent base. Or at least at the time. We're talking mid-90s when I was doing these. What else do we got here? We got another guy with a Thompson. Getting ready to pitch a grenade. A grenade! Bareheaded. He's probably got civilian clothes. He does. He's got like a civilian jacket. And what's really cool is the references. There's a lot of reenactment groups that actually do French resistance fighter reenactment. And, you know, that's pretty cool. Now, if you haven't heard me talk about my WW2 guys, I play an ultra skirmish game that we were working on our own rules for, and it never really materialized. But we came up with we found another set of rules that was really similar. And we pretty much based these guys individually. They're based individually, and they all have surnames. So it's important what people's name is. Now, with the French resistance fighters, what I would probably do is I would give them just first names. So, you know, you could have a Jean-Luc and stuff like that. But yeah, this is one of my Brits. And I don't know if you can tell from this. The painting on it is as good as anything I do now, except the basing. The basing is, you know, archaic. So I had talked about, there's no washes or anything here. It's the same method. And as a matter of fact, I started doing the method that I do now with these figures. So, but it's very primitive basing because we didn't know about it. We didn't know, you know, and they are, look, there's a little magnet on the bottom they added recently. And maybe someday I'll go back and do the basing on them and make them look good. But the actual figures look as good as anything I do now. But that was the catalyst to do the layering technique. I always called it blending, but I'm really blending on a palette and then applying the paints on there, not necessarily blending on the figure itself. All right, let's continue. Here's another guy with a Sten gun. Popular weapon. Another guy with a beret. And he looks like he's got a scarf. So it's probably not in June of 1944, which is probably hot. And he's got kind of a squashed hat. Who else do we got here? Oh, here's a hero-looking guy. This guy's got a Bren light machine gun. And they even put, here on the base, they even put some bricks. Looks like a part of a brick wall here. So I guess you could paint that up like, you know, he's got one on the back too. So yeah, he's got a Bren light machine gun. They have pretty good faces. You think Battlefield was bought by another miniature group which closed down, so many of these small producers are mom and pop shops with one person doing everything. Yeah, the sculptor that this guy is a guy named Andrew, and I think he's still around doing stuff. Because it started off, I think, as Drew's Militia, way back when, and then it became Battlefield, and he added a bunch of, you know, other lines, but 20s was always what we did for World War II skirmish. I have some other figures that are not Battlefield, so I'll get to that in a second. Here is a guy that looks like he's got a French Adrian helmet. So maybe he picked it up from somebody, or maybe he was just hid in his basement when the time came to step up and revolt. And he's got some kind of a rifle. Another guy with a rifle, looks like hollering at somebody. Another Sten machine gun. I don't know if you noticed, every one of these poses is different. And that's what I was looking for when I was doing this scale. I wanted every figure to be different because they were all going to be painted differently and have different personalities. So, not so much a role-playing game, but close. What's this guy got? This guy's got a Piet. You guys don't know what a Piet is. That's that self-propelled grenade. I forget what it stands for. Personal infantry, anti-tank, or something like that. But the Commonwealth forces used those in Northwest Europe. Maybe even used them in Italy as well. But hey, you can see them in action on Bridge Too Far. I think they're in that movie when they're defending the bridge against the SS Reconnaissance Company. Another guy with a beret. And what's he got? He's got like a sweater. You can see a sweater peeking out from underneath him. So, underneath his jacket. Another guy with an Adrian helmet pointing somebody out. Say, you're coming with me. And he's got kind of a bag that he's digging through. He does have a sidearm on him. Another light machine gun. What is this? I'm not sure what this is. I almost think this is a Czech light machine gun. It's Bren-like, but projectile infantry anti-tank. Okay, perfect. Bareheaded guy. Looks a bit like Robert Redford. He's got some kind of light machine gun. I think that's the Czech gun, which the Germans captured when they took over Czechoslovakia. They captured them. And they were initially issued to some of the SS units. Maybe they had them laying around. I think that's what this is. But there's actually a nice casting because you can see. I don't know if you can see. There's the sculpting on the barrel actually has the top part that has the little lines on it. So it's actually pretty finely detailed. All right, we got a guy with a Thompson on his back. And he's holding something like maybe a little banner for maybe putting the French tricolor on it or something like that. But here's a good example of the proportions of these figures. You can see that they're almost bell-bottomy. Their feet, they got big feet, and they got small heads compared to their feet. But that's just the style that they're done in. I don't necessarily have a problem with them. It's much better than what I could do. Since I don't sculpt. All right, we're getting to the bottom of the battlefield ones. Oh, okay, we got a lady here, or a schoolgirl. Almost looks like a schoolgirl. The Bren Gun, yes, the Bren Gun was a Czech weapon originally, a design anyways. Yeah, because it comes from that town, Brno, B-R-N-O. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a Brno Enfield, and that's where the Bren comes from. I haven't read about that stuff in decades, literally, so I don't remember anymore. So I don't know if this is supposed to be somebody that's pretending to dress up like a schoolgirl and then has a Panzerfaust. And what does she got? Does she have a pistol? I think that's a pistol. Who knows what pistol it is? Almost looks like it could be a flare gun. Great. Some gal with a Panzerfaust and a flare gun. Don't stand next to me. Don't stand in front of me. All right, what do we got here? This looks like an officer. And it's part of the resistance pack, so maybe he's got some, he's got kind of baggy clothes. So I don't know if he's got like a German uniform or something like that. Maybe it isn't. Maybe it's just a German cap. This guy's a battlefield guy too, isn't he? He is not a battlefield guy. Not a battlefield guy. These two are, and the rest of these guys I believe are SHQ, which are subprime as far as I'm concerned. These two guys hang out together. This has got an MG42. It's squarish. And they're just setting up like this, so he's shooting it over his shoulder. I do not want to be this guy in the front. Man, it's got to be loud. A big loud zipper. There's a two-man crew there, MG42. Now the rest of these guys, I believe, are SHQ partisans, and they're more realistically shaped, but I don't like them as much, to be honest with you. These guys, this guy's got a double-barreled shotgun. Yeah, that'd be fun in a skirmish game. Have to reload after 2 rounds. This guy's got a rifle with a beret. This guy's got a revolver and a Molotov cocktail. The revolver is very... This guy has a captured MP40. Another Bren light machine gun. Popular. Another rifle with a beret. These guys don't have as much personality as the battlefield guys, for sure. There's a lady with a Sten gun. Look out, it's Anne-Marie. Or whatever her name is. And a guy with a Sten gun here. And last but not least, another rifleman in a beret. Now, these rifles are very, very bendy easy. So I've got about, I don't know, 20 guys here. And that's if I got back into it, this is what I would do. I would paint these guys up, and you know, because the game's really set up to only run 3 or 4 guys. So you know, it's kind of a big deal when you get a casualty done to you, because it might be most of it. It's a good proportion of your force. So I kind of like that. I don't really care for skirmish gaming where they say it's like a platoon-sized game and you're pushing 30 guys around. It doesn't make any sense to me, you know. I want to find out where this Panzerfaust lands, or, you know, if one of these guys throws a grenade, does it land on somebody else, you know, that was not intended. But I was reading something recently on the partisans, and they had all kinds of different factions. You had the Free French guys, and you had the communists, and you had the anarchists, and none of them liked each other. So what they were doing was, prior to the Normandy invasion, they were like airdropping a bunch of like weapons and stuff for these guys to arm them, so they could start causing trouble behind enemy lines before the Allied forces came and landed on D-Day. And what was happening is they had to stop doing that because they were mowing each other down. So all these individual partisan groups, Maquis, were paying back grudges. I mean, they were killing Germans too, you know, but they were killing each other. So they had to put a stop to some of that, tone that down a little bit. I thought that was pretty interesting. I don't remember what book I was reading that in recently, but it's a Normandy book. I have a book on Audible, and it was actually pretty interesting. Because I was a big World War II nut, but it just gets to the point where it's if you're really into something and you read a lot about it, it starts becoming difficult to find new information about things. That's why I like DBA periods so much, because you might know all about the Reconquista, but you don't know anything about the Mongols or something like that. So there's all kinds of different periods to go into. So I've really enjoyed learning about stuff that is not what I'm normally used to. So yeah, I wanted to show those out. I found them the other day without even looking for them. They were just kind of sitting on top. And yeah, if I got back into painting 20s, this is what I would do. I would paint these guys up, and you know, you could assemble your team. You know, you have different missions you could do. And then I would just run the bad guys, you know, or the worst guys, I should say. You have a bunch of SHQ, however, never painted any. They just seem to be non-inspired. They are. I've got some Russian SHQs, and it's like the same guy over and over again. SHQ Vietnam miniatures. I've got a collection 20mm SHQ, British Commandos, and German infantry. Love to use them for skirmish games. Yeah, I've got a ton. I can't get any good lighting over there. Maybe I could get away with this. Let's see if I can get away with this. Let me see if I can get away with this. I put all my 20s out. Let's see if I can do this. We're going to go untethered. Let's see, can you see that? Well, it's awfully dark. I'm zoomed in too much. Let's do a couple things. Let's turn... Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do that. This is the case. Man, it's just too dark. I don't think you can see it. I gotta do it in the daytime. Because I don't think you guys are gonna be able to see the figures down here. Can I see them in the computer? No, I'm gonna have to do it when there's daytime. Anyways, I got all my 20s over here. And we'll have to do show you what I got at some other point. But I pulled them all out, and their bases look like crap. Okay, the basing looks garbage. The basing looks like this. It's just painted green and dropped in woodland scenics. But the rest of them looks great. Looks as good as any of the stuff that I've... Well, this is what I learned. This is what I learned painting with a layering technique, is these figures. And you can't really tell. The lighting is just poor. But there's like 5 to 7 different shades of color on here. Done the same way that I paint now. This is what I learned on the mid to late 90s. And you know, I didn't have the internet, so I couldn't share other basing ideas, or my basing would look better. I'll have to show you guys where all the 20s are out there. But I got a lot of Germans. I got probably 40 Germans. I got a lot of the US too. I did them for a scenario, and it was kind of a German heavy scenario. So I put on one game at a show in 2004, in early 2004, and that's the last time I ran it. It's not suited for a convention game where you're limited by time. And you end up spending an hour of your time explaining the rules to people, and then they may or may not ever come back to play another game. So it's really pretty wasteful when it comes to that. So anywho, lots of people say, hey, I like to do skirmish gaming, but I like to give people like 6 tanks on each side. I'm like, well, that's not skirmish gaming. That's not my skirmish gaming. That's too powerful. You start adding too many vehicles, and I mean, even a squad per vehicle. So in other words, about 10 figures per each vehicle's on there is way too many vehicles. They end up dominating the game. Okay. Let's sorry I couldn't show you that. It just didn't work out. It's too dark in here right now. It's actually not that dark, but it's not coming up. It's not coming across in the video. But yeah, that's my original scale. I'm a 20mm gamer. Hey, go figure, right? By the way, these horses that we painted the other day for my camp, I was looking around and I found out that they're actually chariot miniatures, or Magister Militum as they're called now. So, but they're really, really small. Really, really, really small. But anyhow, Poles. Okay, so I need to paint a Polish knight. Let's do the guy that's going to be red first. And I don't even know what emblem I'm going to do. I honestly been slacking. I don't know if that's the correct term I want to use, because I've been kind of busy doing other stuff. But I want some guy that has a white horseshoe on a red background. I know that's a common motif. So let's see if I could just do a quick search here. Polish knight. And I was reading an article about them recently, about the Poles, and it said that one of their most common colors is red, which, is a no-brainer. If you scan through stuff, you realize that that's a color that lots of guys like to have their stuff in. I just have not organized this stuff. All right, so let's do this. Let's get out of Pinterest, which is not very user-friendly. It's great when I put things there. Just started watching the Horde video. Oh, get a lot of popcorn. It's a long one. The first game and the last game are very long. I think they're very unique. They're some of the most fun. I don't know if fun is a correct terminology. It's definitely very asymmetrical. The army I use is definitely a keep away butterfly type of thing. So, what is this called? Polish. Let's see if I can do that. If I'm going to go to a heraldry, I know that there's a guy that has that white horseshoe. If not, I'm just going to wing it. Oh, here's a guy. It's not a horseshoe, it's that thing with the arrow. It's like a horseshoe with an arrow on it. All right, we'll do that. Man, my intention isn't to sit here and, hey, let's research stuff while you make a video. I do know that I want them red. And we're going to make the other guy blue. Flat red, that's what we want. Flat red. Now I should be able to minimize this and still leave it on the screen. Yep. Now come over here. Hey, it's Rick here. You'll watch the rest tomorrow while I'm working. Yeah, there's some crazy battles. There are some crazy, crazy battles. But it seems like all our battles have now turned into crazy battles. We're trying to get milk out of a turnip. Trying to get everything that you can. Oh man, I gotta wet this down. I'm not gonna get very far. And you know what? I'm actually gonna put I'm gonna change my pad, whatever the hell that means. Yeah. I'll be right back. Let's wet this and let's get a new one of those so we can start fresh with these nuts. All right, we got that. Let's get my papers. got these main papers. I reorganized this whole thing so things aren't where they've been for a year or so. I know one guy was like saying like, how do you, when you put that paper down, how do you get it to stick down? Well, you just cuss at it while you put it down. It's like, you son of a biscuit. You. What was that terminology? Looney bun. You damn looney bun. Oh, man. And just like that, all the COVID restrictions lifted in the U.S. What COVID? Yep. They found a new thing for us to be all interested in. Yeah, you said that was going to happen a couple of weeks ago, so I figured it already happened a couple of weeks ago. Does the wet paper smell moldy? Okay, let's see. Smells like the UK. Smells like a library book. Not very. It hadn't been in there that long. I say that it smells like the UK because I've ordered stuff from, who is it? Spirit Games? I want to say I've gotten stuff from Spirit Games before. It smells like that. I don't mind that smell. I don't mind a moldy. I don't know if I'd call it moldy. I don't mind that smell. My wife hates that smell, but I don't mind it. I don't like a dusty smell. You know, it dries everything out, but. Okay. We need to get our usual suspects, and that, of course, is Mr. Black and Mrs. White. Hanging out here in the middle. That one I just took away is probably the one I've had the least amount of time. Now, it's also the one that curled on me more than any other. But it's also the one that was from this last weekend where it was out in the open for a long time. And that's probably what dried it out. And what happens is the spots where you end up putting the paint down, they don't adhere as well as other spots. So after a while, the fact that you use them makes them not as useful in those places. It starts curling up. It won't attach to it. I don't know. I probably did a shit job of explaining that, but you know, you've got you got space that you're limited by. Why won't this want to come out? Is this the right one? Do I have more than one? Is this a really old white? Maybe. Smells like the UK. Slightly disappointing with a dash of broken dreams. UK smells like Cadbury's and strong black tea. No, I've ordered stuff from the UK, and it has that basement smell. You know, that's what I call it. I don't know what the hell. I've never lived in a house that had a basement. I don't know what the hell those are. But I don't mind that smell. I wouldn't want my whole house smelling like it, but. All right, here's the red. So we're going to take this And we're going to paint this mother from top to bottom in it. Well, not his armor. Okay? And so we can be wasteful, so to speak, and use a big old brush. Where's the magic drippings? Let's see if I still have some. Yep, still do. Just in case. All right, let's get situated here. I don't want any paint somewhere it's not supposed to be. I did a cleanup the other day, and you still end up getting specks of the... The worst culprit is the paint I use for the priming, because it's really watery, and there'll be like these little black dots in different places, and it's like, you know, when you flick the bristles as you're painting it, it's very, very thin. Very, very thin, unlike anything else that I use. You've arrived! Yeah, you didn't show up on... I took roll on Sunday and you weren't here. You didn't miss anything other than a storm in the... was that Saturday? I had a storm one day. And then just as it was getting ready to go, it disconnected me. And I had to do 2 mobile things. I think that was Saturday. And then Sunday it wouldn't connect right again. So, I don't know. Must be the Taliban's back at it again. They had to launch some drones, and I couldn't get it. They used up all my bandwidth. Used up all my bandwidth, giving it to the drones. My father spent some of his youth in the UK. He is very proud of that. He wasn't sleeping with the gals over there where the Tommies were over in Northwest Europe, was he? Oh, sorry about that. Try to avoid his armor as best we can because it's just wasteful to do that. I'm just going to have to repaint it if I do that. So I probably would have been okay with these knights not having the cloth on them, but these are all molded as one piece, and I definitely wanted to use these falcon ones because nobody takes a look at these things. They're not, first of all, they're not available anymore. They're not the most awesome knight figure ever made. You know, a lot of people don't like one-piece castings. I don't mind them. But, you know, I'm mixing them in with other manufacturers, too, so it works pretty good. You were passed out Sunday morning. Okay. He spent some time in the UK and he still called his son Randy. That's one for John Carter. Oh. Well, it's not like he named his daughter Fanny. Oh man. How does that saying go? The England and the US is one country divided by a common language or something like that? It's not that bad. I was watching one of the guys I subscribed to this morning. Was finishing up The basing was done on my Polish Axeman, but I needed to put little grass and everything. So I'm like, let me watch somebody else's feed for a little while. I only had like 30 minutes or something like that. And this guy that I follow, I haven't watched his stuff in a little bit of a while. He's super deadpan. He's from the UK. But I think he's hilarious because he's deadpan. I don't know. He may not be any fun at parties or whatever. Maybe he is. But he was doing this review of this set of rules. And some of the stuff he would just said matter of fact. I just found hilarious. He said something. It was just really, really funny. And he has an accent that's very easy to understand, because some of you people out there, I can't understand your accent very well. His is not one of those. I had 3.5 hours sleep on Saturday, so I was sleeping, yeah. He enjoyed his time in Europe, courtesy of Uncle Sam. Maybe his dad was just Randy and thought, what the hell, named the kid Randy. Cousins divided by a common language. Oh, that's what well, not my cousin. I'm not related to you folks. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean I don't like you. There was a thing around the 4th of July, and it was some meme that went around, and it had the Queen on it or something like that. And people would post I haven't cared about the royals since 1776. And I'm like, well, my people haven't given a shit since 1588. So how do you like them apples? No, a lot of it is the speed. So if you're somebody that, that you can't understand 100%, if you naturally speak slower, it's going to make it a lot easier to understand. But if you're just rattling things off left and right and cutting off the ends of words and things like that, it's going to be really difficult to communicate. All right, I got to be careful about going up any brighter than this, because I want to put the emblem, and I want the emblem to be surrounded by a dark red color, say like this. And I don't want to make it too bright. I think I could stand going up one more. It's not like I can't fix it. I don't want to be wasteful of my time. I think it's too much. Let's go in between those two. Now, I'm not painting these guys for a specific battle. I just want to do Polish-ish heraldry, because it's not like, okay, well, I want to do guys that are the Battle of Tannenberg, and then, well, you could do all that, but then, if you're not using them for that battle, then your heraldry is still wrong. So it's better to, unclench a little bit and just kind of do things that, are appropriate to give you the right type of look. Because this emblem I'm about to do is not in Western Europe. You won't see that in any of the Western European things. It's definitely Eastern looking. All right. Time difference is a killer, though, yeah. Is the time difference better now with it changed? So Now it's almost 8:30 p.m. here. Oh, did it get worse? Let's see. We sprung forward, so it got better. Yeah. Linear time doesn't exist. Time is only relevant to a given point. Stop. Stop. That makes as much sense as Algebra 2. Don't go there. I'm not prepared to understand that. Okay. Let's go back to this. Let's go back to this guy here. Polish Knights. I want that to be bigger. Let me take a look at something while I'm thinking about it. Wouldn't hurt to have that dry out a little bit anyways. Let's go to Armies of the Feudal Ages. Armies and the Middle Ages, Volume 2. And it should be right here. Unless somebody didn't put it away in the right place. I did. I just wasn't expecting it to be as thick as this one. And let's go to the poles back here. I believe they're towards the back. That's Lithuanians. Poles. Okay, and I bet there's specific. Let me switch this screen. There is specific. Let me get on the right one. There's specific Polish heraldry here, and even a section on Poland, right here. Hell, let's read that. You guys want an education today? Polish heraldry differed from that of Western Europe in that many families with different names and no relationship might share a coat of arms. I read that before, which bore a special name different from that of the families involved and perhaps originally derived from a tribal or family battle cry. That's one thing that a lot of this, you'll go online and it'll tell you like the family and the heraldry and like if they have like a battle cry that goes with it. I thought that was pretty unique. I guess they drink a lot and like to scream. As in Germany, arms were shared by an entire family and not just by the head thereof, and were consequently borne undifferenced by fathers, sons, brothers, uncles, and cousins alike. Furthermore, a custom existed whereby a foreign noble family might enter the ranks of the Polish nobility by adoption by a Polish family, thereby assuming the coat of arms of their patrons, as for instance did the Lithuanian nobility following the union of Poland and Lithuania in 1386. As a result, there were very few individual coat of arms, only 500 in the entire country, even as late as the end of the 18th century. Other particular points of difference to note are the presence of many linear charges of alleged runic origin and the virtual absence of the honorable ordinaries, so prominent in Western heraldry, the use of additional tinctures of gray and brown, and a tendency to ignore the rule that forbade the charging of one color upon another. And a tendency to ignore the rule that, okay, so that means, I bet that means that you can't put red on top of blue. You know, you have to have the dividing between of yellow or white, which would signify gold or silver. I touched upon that the other day. So, okay, that makes sense. Okay, so they ignore that sometimes. Needless to say, detailed information on Polish heraldry at this period is in very short supply and is frequently contradictory, most records having been destroyed in World War II. However, the following coat of arms were among those carried on shields and banners at the Battle of Tannenberg. Okay, so these are all Tannenberg people, 1410, which basically look, for the most part, like these guys do. And the heraldry I was looking at the picture is this one right here. This guy right here. It looks like an arrow, but almost like it's sitting on like a sumo stance. That's the one I was painting. Let's confirm that that's red. That's LX. That's what we're going to paint this. What we're going to paint with this guy. LX is Jean of Sprova. A bow and fess, an arrow, and pale argent. The Ottawa Arms, also born on the banner of the 49th Division, led by Helm the Moravian, where it described the banner of Janozovic, a Moravian lord presumably adopted by the Ordovaz. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to put one on the front, one on the back, and then on his shield as well. So I've got to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. Okay, let's leave this open. It's going to be basically all red except that portion. All right, before I get started on that, I'm going to go get myself some tea. What book am I looking at? Show the cover, please. Yes, sir. Armies of the Middle Ages, Volume 2, by Ian Heath. I have the whole series of all these, and these books are famous because a lot of the miniatures were sculpted based on the illustrations in here. As a matter of fact, the rumor I heard is the gentleman who sculpted Essex wanted to do every army in all of these books, and that's how the Essex sculpts came from. That's a rumor. It may be true. Seems credible, you know. Yeah, and it is a War Games research publication. And they used to be out of print. I think they're back in print now, but they're relatively expensive. They used to be like $50 or something like that. Interesting, the polls ignore the heraldry rules. Well, sometimes, and you know, the funny thing is because the heraldry rules. They called it. What was it that they called it? They called it. No, honorable ordinaries was something else. Yeah, the heraldry rules. So, if you look at heraldry. In quotations, heraldry, before, say, 1150, 1160, even getting close to 1200, you'll see stuff like the Normans stuff. And there'll either be, there'll be colors that you don't normally see together. And it's strange to see a blue shield with red stripes on it. And no dividing line of yellow or yellow or white between the two. It's strange to see that. It's just your eye gets used to seeing what we're normally used to of the rules of heraldry. You don't have those colors touching each other. You don't have you can have yellow and green. You can have yellow and blue. You can have yellow and red striped. You can have white and green. You can have white and blue. You can have white and red. But you can't have blue and red or green and red without having the divider between it. It just, you look at it and it just looks whacked. So I've seen illustrations of some Russians with teardrop shaped shields, and they have red and blue commingling happily ever after, no issue whatsoever. And I've seen, the Normans. Once you start getting into close to like 1200, that stuff goes away. You never see Western European, those colors touching each other. You'd have to go earlier to like Goths and Franks and stuff like that to see those colors touching. I don't know why they decided to do them that way, but when you start seeing a lot of it, I've seen people paint their figures, if I see somebody paint stuff and I don't like how it's painted, I don't go, hey, your stuff looks like crap. I try to be positive, So, but there's one painter that did this huge project for, I think, medievals or whatever, and all of his figures broke that rule, and they look wrong. They just, Looks like those rules still command a $50 price tag. Aha. Yeah. And so if you get used to seeing those things over and over again, when you see something that breaks the rules, you're like, it looks wrong, you know? And it's interesting that it is not wrong if you're, polls. Let me get some tea. I'll be right back. Okay. All right, so this is almost like a pair of ass cheeks. Right, that's what we're going to go with then. Two metals, silver and gold, shall not be charged upon each other, except in the case of the Vatican flag. There's a couple other rules where they changed the emblem of the Kingdom of Jerusalem is also the same way. But there's certainly the exception. If I know something's wrong and the person doesn't, I'll let them know nicely, but I'll never put it to other painters down, as I can discourage a lot of painters, and that's not what I want to do. Yeah, I saw one guy's medieval project. He painted his army red and green. It just looked a bit off, sort of unconvincing. Maybe the same guy we're thinking of. But, hey, you can paint them however you want. Just, you start seeing that a while. Like, something looks wrong, Conquest look at the American War of Independence using 1768 warrant uniform from a British troops, even though it's discontinued early on. I know it's wrong, but I love the look of uniforms, so I use it. I'll gladly point out my own mistake, even though I don't consider it a mistake. Right. Let's get to it. Let's get stressed out with this. Now, this is, I'm not going to say this is a piece of cake, but this is easy to fix if things don't turn out how you want them. I'm actually going to, let's not get carried away. I was going to do a shield first. This shield's going to have the same emblem on it. Let's just do one of these and see how. We got to space this thing out correctly. That's the main thing I tell people, man, space it out. Get everything positioned how you want it before you go in and detail. So let's get Mr. Black in. This is going to be in white. So dark gray should work fine. And we want a thin line I'm going to put the perimeters. All right, this is way too far away from where it is. Right, okay. So, we're going to have to, if you guys want to see this, I need to zoom in a little bit more. Okay. Now, hopefully I didn't zoom in too much. Man, it's awfully dark. See if I can brighten that up. I'm telling you, this light I'm painting under is beyond awesome. However, it gets lost in translation. Let's go there. Let's go there. At least you can see what's going on. And let's minimize. Let's move it over here. All right. So we're going to do a double ass cheek. And it's about as tall as it is wide. Got it. All right. Here goes everything. Let's get the height right. We're going to have the arrow like that. Okay, now we have that on there. We want to clean that up in the shape we want before we start adding more to it. Okay, so is there anything else that we're going to need on that to give it some shape? Well, there's a couple little legs on this thing. Okay, so this one has a leg here. Now the other thing is, because this is cloth, if it's off a little bit, not a big deal, because that's kind of how it is. I'm going to move to the next one down here and do it as well. And we'll do it smaller because this area is smaller. So I'm going to put an arrowhead. Let me get on my glasses a second. Now we're going to build that up. Other side. Better. You got to get the proportions right. Don't try to start filling it all in. Just get everything in the right order. Okay, so we got 4. The ones on this side actually look better. They look more even. So let's clean up the other ones. So how we're going to do that is, let's come back. Let's get rid of these glasses. I should have done these videos 10 years ago when I could just do all this in 20/20 vision. It's just annoying. It just takes time, and so just switching between stuff. All right, so this is about where we were, and let's just clean this up a little bit. actually turned out pretty well. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Okay. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to build a red all around that. And then the final thing is we'll lighten that white and make it pop out. Okay? Sip. Now, we are going to need to use, see if we can avoid using that brush. See if we can use another one. Get in there close. One thing I need to get in the habit of, I'm doing something with my feet. I'm at work and stuff, like my feet, my right foot hurts, like the top of my foot, and I think I'm sitting weird, like I'm flexing it or something when I'm doing it. Okay. Let's add more core red to this. And we want this pretty wet. Maybe not that wet. Maybe not that red. Yeah, you get used to those rules of heraldry, and then you see something else that doesn't conform to them, and you're like, man. There's a couple exceptions to it. But I guess the polls didn't care. I don't know that any of my polls are going to break the rules. Now, if I was going to do post what they like to call in DBA post-Mongol Russians, I like that. It's like if it wasn't for the Mongols, you people would be nothing. No, the post-Mongol Russians that were after the Mongols came in there and put their thumb on them. Old Glory actually makes figures for them. I'd forgotten. So, if I ever get around to doing that army, I don't know if I would. It's a very similar makeup to this later Polish army. Very similar. Except they're all cavalry. But they're almost entirely a cavalry army. I don't mean like they've got knights and they have light horse. No, they're almost entirely cav. Medium horse. And that'd be kind of boring to do two armies that are like that. Because, for instance, these later Poles, the only foot they can have is they can have a fast blade. They can have some 8 crossbowmen, some deep crossbowmen, double-sized crossbowmen, and some war wagons. That's it. Can't have any auxilia, or they may be able to have a Saloy, a skirmisher, one. But no spear or nothing. So they're not a very well-balanced force. But if I did something like that, yeah, I'd probably do some shields that broke the rules. Because as a matter of fact, I've got a piece of artwork that has a Russian with an almond-shaped shield with diagonal stripes, and the stripes are in red and blue. Like either the shield background is all blue or it's all red, and the blue is a deep blue. It's like a disc. So it's like these two colors next to each other on a shield. Actually, it looks more like a blue shield with red stripes on it. It just looks wrong. But now that I know, maybe it won't look so wrong. You're back. You forgot you had laundry in the dryer and washer. Yep, that happens to me all the time. 2020 vision, I'm surprised that you don't use an optivisor of some sort. I can't see my miniatures without it. So I'm naturally nearsighted. And I'm about a 6.5 positive. So I have a built-in optivisor. And I just never used it before. I could just paint without. I wear contacts, but now 4 years ago, I couldn't see things up close. It started getting blurry. I'm like, it's really weird for somebody who's been nearsighted their whole life to not be able to see something up close. It's a really mind screw. And once I had a pair of readers. I bought a pair of readers that were 375s positive, and then I'm like, no, it's still blurry. So I just took my contacts out and I paint without contacts. Reading glasses are magnifiers as they're nearsighted, so I paint closer to my face, so make out the details pretty good. Yeah, I paint without. I got a built-in loop, and I don't know that I'm painting any better. I don't know that I'm painting any better now that I've painted with my contacts in, because I'm painting in 6+6.5 instead of painting in just regular 2020. But I'm enjoying the nooks and crannies of the sculptor did on the figure a lot more. I'm enjoying seeing the all the little details that the figure has. I saw them before, but I just enjoy them a lot more now. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I painted from the time I was 15 until about 45 in 2020 vision. And it just never occurred to me. I always thought my vision was bad. No, I don't have bad vision. Well, I do now that I can't see up close. But I didn't have, just because you're nearsighted doesn't mean you have bad vision. It's focused improperly. So instead of it having a focal point where it normally is, you've got it zoomed in. You're like a freaking superhero, so to speak. And it never occurred to me that was the case. I just took it that, I have bad vision. Nope. I don't. It needs to be corrected to, have what everybody else has. So, yeah, about 5 years ago, I had to change what I was doing. So, I got a friend of mine he was a 15 millimeter painter, and he said he had to move the 28s because he has too much shakes as he's gotten older. He's only a year older than I am, but he says he's got a lot of shakes. I haven't experienced any shakes, nor do I want to. As a matter of fact, I find this actually extremely easy on the vision and everything else. It's not like it's high wear and tear. I think this is actually very easy on the eyes. All right, let's bring the red up even more. Yeah, I don't have the shakes, and I do not want that. That's not compatible with my hobby. So I was getting at is going to bigger figures like 28 millimeter. I hear that old guys can't see, so they go to the 28. The problem is I'd want to paint all the details on the 28. So I'm not going to go to a bigger figure and paint them crappier. I also seem to paint where your hands and the miniature are well balanced on the table, so shakes shouldn't be a problem. I've always done it. I've always had my wrists. I have a table that basically doesn't move. That's, you kind of have to have that, Like when you go to a restaurant and you're in that damn flip-flop table that, go put some sugar packets under it or whatever. No, this thing doesn't move at all. And I always have them rested, so I don't. It's not tiring, and the miniatures always like part of it is touching the table. Yeah, I don't paint in midair like I see some people do. I don't. That would be nerve-wracking for me. Absolutely nerve-wracking. So anyways, when you guys get a chance, check out those videos that we filmed yesterday. Bring lots of popcorn because 2 of them are really long. I think they're really entertaining battles, and actually I go through a lot of detail trying to explain why I'm doing what and why. And I thought I had a lot of fun playing them. So. But I was using an army that I pretty much had to play keep away. So because of that, the battles tended to run a little long. I think the 2 battles, they're about an hour and a half each. There's a whole video for is it 3 battles that we do? Yeah, the 3 battles was 4 hours average. So the first battle and the third battle are long. Longer. How long have I been stuck in Eastern Europe? I use the table to support my hands. I've always done that. Me too, Steve. You're doing it right. How long have I been in Eastern Europe? I guess since Hungary. Unless you want to call Ottomans. We're not building this whole army right now. We're just going to build some stands for allies for the Moldavians. And we got some Polish viewers on there. So I figured, I'm going to paint some Polish knights for you guys. Why not? They're cool. Hey, what's tomorrow? Wednesday? Yeah, consume this week. Get it over with. You assume the battles are on Facebook. No, no more Facebook. I don't do the filming through the Facebook. Way too restrictive. Lots of people don't want to be on Facebook for whatever reason. But with that said, we've got some suggestions that were sent in. We've got some, if it's just Mitch and I, we've got some things that have been sent to us to do. So I'm definitely looking forward to some future videos with just Mitch. It's difficult to do with many other people just because it's difficult trying to fit it all in. But we've got some interesting stuff coming out that was done by suggestions. So I'm not saying get your suggestions in because it's going to be a while before we get to them. But it's kind of nice to, get ideas for stuff that we haven't done. So, stay tuned. Let's thin this down a little bit. Oh, wrong one. These are the ones for the computer. That's the ones I put on there. Those are just a plus 125s or something like that. Yeah, YouTube? Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to play battles anymore. They're not being filmed. Too many interesting things happen. We encounter things all the time. I'm gonna move this extremely valuable book out of the way. I don't want something we don't need it for that. We got that emblem down. Hold on. I want to paint here, so I need to move this here. There we go. You saw a good World War II movie last night on Netflix called The Forgotten Battle. It's about part of Market Garden. I think I will like it. That the one where it shows a guy, like the profile of a guy, and he's got a funny looking helmet. There's a helmet that the Commonwealth troops used I want to say late 44, early 45, and it's almost like it's not proportional. It's not the same all the way around. It's different on the front, and I thought I saw somebody like that. But they also looked like they were Asian, so I like it, huh? Okay, I'll give it my 10 minutes. I'll give something 10 minutes. If not, as long as it's not one of those damn Russian movies. I can't stand those Russian movies. They're so full of shit. It's just like everything's rosy in the Soviet Union until the Germans came. You know, everybody's kumbayaing around. You know. I'm surprised I'm even able to do some painting because I was up way too late last night, which is usually what happens on game night. And of course, I've got to work the next day. So, all right, let's just switch back over to the white and well, we got to do the horse up here. Horse's head. This one has tall Felton, the guy who played Draco Malfoy in Harry Potter. I have no idea who that is. I tried watching the first Harry Potter twice and made it, I think the maximum of like 17 minutes or something like that. It's like, this is a land where there's no physics whatsoever. It's not for me. So I don't know who that is. Sorry. Made by a Dutch film group, but it's in English. Talk to Ukrainian citizens who were starved by Stalin in the 20s. What? That the Russians were communists? Yeah, I can't. I mean, you know, there's a German war film that I saw recently, and you know, and it doesn't present them. It doesn't present them like they're the good guys, you know. You just need to be, you know, you need to be balanced. But to say that, you know, everything was great in the Soviet Union. What I like is that T-34 film. The storyline is absolute garbage, but the special effects are phenomenal. And I always like to point out, that is skirmish gaming. You fire the gun. Where does it land? And what part of the turret does it hit, you know? What does it do to the crew? I think it handled that part of it really well. Okay, let's brighten this up. I think I'm going to have to brighten up the red significantly. I'm not happy with how it's turned out. But, you know, I can be patient till I'm convinced that it's not going to go in the direction that I want it to. Not bad. I just need to bring the red on up. Not bad. Special effects have gotten better. Realistic as hell. I was shocked how realistic the combat scene. Wow. It's a movie, right? And hopefully not a miniseries. The problem with the miniseries is like, man, I just don't have time to dedicate all that stuff to it. Also, military leadership destroyed paranoid style in the 30s. They were extremely lucky Hitler was a bad warlord. Yeah. Eastern Front, man, that was my favorite. That's my favorite theater, the Eastern Front. Here we go. Just need to stick with it. Look at that front portion there. Well, I don't know if you guys are getting the correct color. That's a problem with this video. You don't get the necessarily the correct color. Why is that? Da, 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 da. 234, Fighting the Hungarians, great film. Russian film 234. No, it's the one where there's a crew and they go and pull it out and it's all special effects. And I like North Africa too, yeah. Just about a hex and counter game called Brazen Chariots Battles for Tobruk. I like the desert. Both sides are interesting in the desert. Both sides are interesting. How long have we been on here? Yeah, I about need to quit because I'm like fading big time. But it was an opportunity to get something done. Show you guys some of my 20 mils. Some, that's very few of them. I got tons. But we'll have to pick it up another day where I'm a little bit more awake. But anyways, thanks for coming by, folks. And the Danes made a really excellent film about one day of fighting when they invaded Germany called April 9th. Huh. Okay. Well, thanks for coming by, folks. And as always, happy painting. See you next time. Bye-bye.